there's a line you have heard before, and maybe not in these exact words, but you will know the shape of it right away. I happen to life. Life doesn't happen to me. You know the room it comes from. Somebody says it on a stage, or on a podcast, or in a video that arrived without you ever asking for it, and there is something in it that genuinely works. It sounds brave to you. You have probably said a version of it yourself. So have I, which is why this is worth our 7 minutes, and why it is not a joke at anybody's expense. Because that line is not only a mood, it points at something real, something with a name and a scale, and 60 years of study behind it. And once you know what that thing actually is, the line gets much harder to say. In 1966, a man named Julian Rotter built a test that sorts people along a single line. At one end, you believe that what happens to you comes mostly out of what you do, out of your work and your choices and your effort. At the other end, you believe it comes mostly out of luck, or timing, or people who hold more power than you do. He called it locus of control, internal at one end and external at the other. And the internal end looks good. People who score there tend to do better in school, tend to keep steadier health, tend to cope better with hard news, and tend to quit less often when a thing turns difficult. It is a rough version of one of the most carefully measured ideas we have. But hold on to one detail, because the rest of this turns on it. The test does not measure how much control you have. It measures how much control you feel. The same room makes a second claim, and it usually arrives in the same breath as the first one. The difference between the people who make it and the people who don't is dedication. Show up, do the work, and keep doing it for longer than everybody else. In 2014, 3 researchers pulled together every study they could find on practice and skill across music and games and sport and school and ordinary paid work. Out of the whole gap between the good and the great, how much of it does practice actually explain? In games, it was 26%. In music, 21%. In sport, 18%. In school, 4%. And in the work that you personally get paid for, under 1%. Read that last one again and hold it up against your own working week, because it is the strangest number in this film. Practice explains the most about chess, and it explains almost nothing at all about the thing you actually do for a living. None of us wants that number to be true. And it is not a claim that your practice is useless, because nobody has ever got good at anything without it. It is a claim about the gap between you and the next person. Practice is the price of the ticket, and it turns out not to be the reason that one person ends up further along than the next. So we have a belief that feels true, and underneath it, a claim that does not hold nearly as hard as it sounds. Now here's the part that turns the whole thing around. Feeling in control tracks with being in control. People with steady money and safe work, and some say over their own day, tend to score internal. People whose hours change without warning, whose rent moves under them, who get told rather than asked, tend to score external, which raises a question you cannot unask once you have heard it. When somebody tells you that they happen to life, are you hearing a cause or are you hearing a report? Some of it really is a cause because belief does real work, and we should not pretend otherwise. But some of it is only an honest reading of a life that has slack in it. They may not be steering any harder than you are, and they may simply have been given more room in which to steer. And here's where it stops being interesting and starts being a problem. The same dial that predicts how much authorship you feel over your own life predicts something else entirely, which is how you explain a stranger. People who score internal are more likely to explain poverty by pointing at the poor, at bad choices and weak effort. People who score external are more likely to point at the shape of the thing everybody is standing in. It is one dial, and we all have one fitted. Wherever you have it set for yourself is roughly wherever you have it set for everybody else. So when that line lands on the right person at the right moment, it lifts them. And when it lands on somebody who has no room at all, it turns into a diagnosis wearing the coat of encouragement. You are not stuck. You're simply not trying hard enough, said kindly, said often, said most of the time, by people who were never tested that way. We should be slow here, because that sentence is an easy one to say, and we have all been on the wrong side of it in both directions. Most of us have said it to somebody. Some of us have had it said to us on the worst day of a bad year. So what is left for us? What is left is not nothing. The belief still works inside the range that it can genuinely reach, and inside the room you already have. Acting like the author of your day beats acting like a passenger in it by a wide margin, and that part is worth your keeping. What does not survive is the size of the claim. It is not a law of the world, and it is not the gap between the people who make it and the people who don't. It is one small engine doing honest work inside conditions we did not pick, and it arrives with a duty attached to it. If you have got the feeling, then some of it was handed to you rather than earned by you. And the respectable thing to do with a gift like that is not to sell it back at a markup to the people who were handed less of it. You can happen to life. You just cannot take full credit for the life you happen to.